Alright guys, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to do an advanced multiplicity, how to do if you have multiple items or people in your photo that excuse me, that overlap. So let's get started. First thing I would do, of course, is select all 4 of my photos in Bridge, or 8 or 10 depending on how many you have, and then just go to Tools, Photoshop, load files into Photoshop layers. I've actually already done that, so here we go. I'm in Photoshop. I got my photos all loaded up. I'm going to start by just turning off the 2 top layers and then just turning this layer on and off. I can see already I'm going to have some pretty significant overlap in these 2 photos. That's not a problem. So I'm going to turn this layer on. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to grab, throw a layer mask on there. And I'll come over and grab my brush tool and make sure my foreground color is set to black by pressing D on my keyboard and then X. And then I want to be working with a large soft brush. I'm going to make sure my hardness is down to 0. And of course I can make my brush bigger or smaller with the bracket keys. I'm going to start by just bringing back all of this Kali right here, this kid, and I know I'm losing some of the other Kali. That's okay. I'm going to keep bringing him back until he has completely appeared. Got to make sure I didn't leave him faded out anywhere. Bring him completely in. And there we go. Come over and look at my layer mask. You can see I've got a nice little black blob. That's where I made the hole. In fact, if I turn off my back layer, you can see that all I've really done is just made a temporary hole in this layer so that I can see the layer underneath it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch to white to start filling this hole back in where the other Kali is so that it looks like they're blended together. Although I am going to leave this one turned on before I do that. So I'm going to go back to black, fix this Kali. Now I'm going to switch to white. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to use a much smaller brush. I'm going to start using white to paint this other Kali back in. Remember, what I'm actually doing is I'm filling in the hole on this layer so that these 2 layers blend together a little bit better. I'm not going to get too close to the skin, because if you get too close to the skin or the other person with a soft edge brush, they get that faded out look to them. You can see that right there. So stay away from getting too close when you're using a soft edge brush. What I'm going to use this brush for is just to bring back the majority of this other Kali. And I'm just going to keep going around and painting. I'm going to come down below. Make sure I get the legs and everything that's down below the table. And one really cool trick that you can use to see if there's anything you're missing that you need to bring back is you can temporarily disable this layer mask right here by holding down Shift and clicking on it. See how that red X appeared? And that allows me to see this entire photo and see exactly what it is that I'm missing still. So I'm going to Shift click on that again. And I can see that I still got some foot down here to bring back in. More foot right there. And now let me kind of zoom out and do a little Shift click again. And there's a little leg right there, but that's right up against the skin. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in even more so I can really see this area here. I'm going to make my brush smaller, and now I'm going to really crank up my hardness. I don't ever like to go to 100%, but I'm going to go right around 80-90%. And now I'm just going to come in and real carefully just follow the line that's already there. Taking my time, doing it right. There's really no shortcut to this. Like, I'm going to have to make a real small brush here to get that section right there. There's no shortcut to this. You just got to have the patience and take the time to go through and do it. And it's really all about just switching back and forth between black and white. Honestly, the hardest part is remembering what color you should be painting with, whether you should be painting with black or whether you should be painting with white. That's what I struggle with the most. Remember, if you make a mistake too and you accidentally go like that, and you're like, oh man, you can always just switch back to black and bring it back. So just do that by pressing the X key on your keyboard. Come here under the table real quick. Get that last little section of leg. And there we go. Pretty good for that Kali, except for I guess we need his hand out here, right? So let's bring that in real quick. Remember, if your camera moved, you're going to want to solve that the same way we did on our basic multiplicity by just switching to the move tool and using the arrow keys. In fact, you're going to want to do that before you do any of this too much precise layer masking, because if I wait till I'm done to do it, it's going to throw the whole thing way off. So just right here along the face, I'm going to zoom in real close. I've made my brush real small. I'm just going to very carefully, especially along the face, here's where we have to be super careful. If we accidentally cut off large chunks of his chin or something like that, it's going to look really weird. We can get away with that when we're working on a coat or a pant leg or something like that. But when we're working on people's faces, you just got to be really careful and take the time to make it look good. So I made a little bit of a mistake right there. No big deal. I'll just switch to black and just paint that back in. Then switch back to white and just... There you go. All right, the rest of this is just more of the same. I'm just going to come in now, turn my next layer on, zoom out, add a layer mask on this one, and you don't need to be precise again. We've already done our precision over here, so I'm just going to grab a big old black brush and just bust this one out real quick, just like that. Just be careful when you get to an area where there might be some overlap or some contact. Looks like there's not, so we're good. And that's it. That's how you're going to do this. Of course, you'll just turn on your next layer now, throw a layer mask on that, and you'll go in and very carefully, again, over here will be easy. Most of this will be easy, but there is a little overlap right there, so you'll have to take the time to do that right. But that's it. That's how you do advanced multiplicities.